Welcome to another episode of Relocation Leader. I'm your host, Zach Turvis, and today we have a great discussion for you. We have Michael Smith, who is the VP of Sales and Service at AHI Corporate Housing. But more importantly for our discussion, he is the facilitator and founder of HR Mobility Peer Group, which is a group on LinkedIn. It's a pretty popular group. Thanks for being here, Michael. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and also the peer group that you facilitate?
I really appreciate y'all inviting me on here today. I have been blessed in a 40-year business career to have been around a lot of high achievers and have been blessed to be part of several CEO roundtable, entrepreneurs roundtables, and led several peer groups. And through that process, what I've learned real quickly is you can get great advice from vendors and others, but it's never the same as somebody who's actually having to do the job every day and make things happen. The original Entrepreneurs Roundtable I was part of through the chamber and ended up leading for the chamber, it was a group of about 20 small businesses that over a 15-year period, one, we didn't have any small business fail in the group, which is such a rarity, but two, every one of us achieved by any measure high success. And so it always made me think about what was it about this group of people and being part of a peer group that had value. And I think it goes back to some very basic things. One is, as long as you're willing to sit down with others and learn and and have that level of trust and open up and have people you can say, hey, here's something I'm trying to achieve, or here's an issue I'm dealing with. Have you ever dealt with it, or how would you deal with it? Or is this something you see in your future? How can I avoid this, or how can I overcome it? And having a group of people that are actually living the life share with you what they've done and how they've done it, it had incredible value to me in my business life.
And so, you started, I'm curious to see, how did it grow? So like how fast did people jump onto it? And, did you have to sort of change the structure at a certain point because of how large the group was getting? Could you walk us through a little bit about that and sort of what the value was that people were seeing?
I went out to that first 50 people identified, primarily in the Southeast US where we're based. And I would ask people, hey, Stephanie, do you know Tanya? Would you like to know Tanya? Yeah, I will help y'all connect. And once a month, set up this conference call and join if you can join. Because again, this was before Teams and Zoom and LinkedIn and email. So it was either email communication or a conference call, very low key, right? Well, as that kept growing and then LinkedIn came on the site, and then LinkedIn's been an invaluable thing, it's easy to type in a title and find people with that title. People aren't coming to see or hear from me. They're coming to see or hear from their peers. I've been very blessed in that because of the support AHI is giving me, it's always been able to be no monetization, no fees, so that one of the core principles is that the community is vendor free and no fee, right? There's no registration model. There's no, and I understand that's an incredible blessing because I've never had to sell anything and don't monetize in any way the community. So it allows me to do things that if I had to have a monetization to it might impact how I've been able to run it. So I've always kept everything very low key. We use Teams for as the community grew, the community would reach out to me and said, hey, these conference calls are great, but there's this new thing called Teams. Why don't we start going virtual? All right, well, if y'all want to go virtual, somebody teach me how to do it, and we'll go virtual. And so I've had people in the community carry me through the process. My model that I grew up with was selling copiers down the street. So every day, all day, you walked up to people and learned how to engage them and build value and trust, or you got run out of that business real fast. So once I started the community, that if you build it, they will come. I've never found that to be true in B2B. What I found to be true in B2B is you build it and then you go invite them and you invite them again and you keep inviting them. If they say no, you move on. But if they don't say no, you keep inviting them to the party. And if they want to come to the party, fine. If they don't, fine. But you keep the invitation in front of them. 90% of the growth has been me reaching out to people that, based on who they are, I think would find value and give value. I'm always looking for both sides, right? Who's going to get value and give value to the community wherever they sit in the world? And I reach out to them. What I learned being a business owner is you get a bunch of entrepreneurs together, they're going to have a different level of conversation than the people that work for them. Like one of the things that fascinates me about this world, I don't care what else is going on in the economy. If I run a business, there's three things I think about all the time in the C-suite. One of them is how to find and keep great people and how to get them where I need them, when I need them. I never walked into an entrepreneur roundtable with whether they had 50 employees or 500 employees or 5,000 employees, whether they were local, statewide, or national, that somewhere in there we weren't all looking at each other going, how are you finding great people? How are you keeping great people? And how are you getting them where you need them when you need them? There's just a different level of conversation when you're talking with C-suites. In my conversations with people in the community, I realized that the C-suite at NEI, they're going to think differently than the people on the ground every day. They're thinking strategically. They're looking at things from a 50,000 foot view. What I did do is reach out to like the C-suites of the RMCs and say, if y'all would consider it, I would like to have a panel of y'all have a conversation with the community once a year to talk about what's on your mind. What are the things when you sit around at your corporate office and you have that 15 minutes just to think? What is it you're thinking, worrying about, strategizing on? I did put that together, and then I realized that I got requests basically to do the same thing for the immigration providers and the same thing for the tax provider. So that group of key vendors for all these mobility people, relocation people, travel people. So I do once a year have a panel of C-suite people come talk to them about what's on their mind. It is for them, by them, and that's why the trust is so high because, I don't provide a list other than in the community. I don't provide a list to anybody who's part of the community, and I never share anybody's contact information.
One of my favorite movies is Top Gun Maverick,
Yeah,
and so like, Top Gun, that's not for just like beginner pilots, right? And they have regular pilot, flight training school to get people up in the air for the first time, and it's really regimented classroom environment, lots of that stuff. But Top Gun is all experience. It's all learning from the best pilots and stuff like that. It's a lot more granular and acute to the moment, and learning how to solve real world problems that are more than basic, you know. And that seems to be sort of the distinction you're making. You're not saying that there's never a place for a classroom or e-learning or anything like that, but this serves a different purpose, and it's more to sort of help you with more granular, acute issues rather than just the basics. Am I getting that right?
yeah. I mean, you and I talked about sports earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm learning how to be an offensive lineman, right? When I go to practice, what the coaches are specifically teaching me how to do is how to correctly block a defender, right? The techniques, these 15 techniques based on how they, but that's different of then I'm watching film of the team I'm about to play this week, and they're saying, okay, here's this specific person, and when he bobs his head this way, you should do X. One is learning proper techniques and then practicing it till you master the proper technique. The one is then specifically learning how to apply the techniques you've learned to a specific real life situation.
And I'm curious, so also, do you do anything to sort of help facilitate better engagement in the group, or like what is your active participation in the group?
Great question. As a facilitator, my experience in life is the bell curve is true. What do I mean by that? If you take 100 people and put them in any situation, you're going to have 10 people that are going to engage naturally because it's their nature. They're going to be the first ones to jump on, the first ones to talk. You're going to have that middle 80 that, based on how they're engaged, will communicate. You're going to have the bottom 10 that they would rather die, right? The old thing about some people would rather be in the casket than the one giving the eulogy, right? So as a facilitator, it's my job to be the cheerleader for the top 10% because they help you get the conversation started, but then specifically reach out and be engaging people in the middle 80 that I know if I reach out to them and say, hey, Zach, what's your thoughts on X? That they will jump in and contribute, but they're going to want to be invited. And I'm going to have to give you multiple ways. There are a lot of people that are happy to be on camera or to be vocal. Some people are not going to want to do that, but in the chat, they will keyboard and engage a lot. Some people, after the conversation, and a lot of times it's tied to company policies and other things, may one-on-one send Zach an email saying, hey, I was on the call with you today. You asked for help on X. I'm never going to post anything on social media. I'm never going to stand up in a room of 100 people. But one-on-one, here are some ideas for you. So it is finding people, don't force anything, right? Let people communicate and engage with each other, whatever's comfortable for them, and whatever stays inside their company policies.
Pick three of the most surprising insights that you've experienced in the group that you would want to share. Could you rattle off what those might be? Or make you think
Surprises,
here.
huh? Boy, now you're making me think. You didn't say anything about having to think. You just said you wanted me to come here and talk.
That's right. Well,
Um,
I like
all
curveballs
right, so
too, so I was a pitcher.
yeah, that's okay. I don't mind. It's good to make somebody think. I guess the first would be the hunger for this kind of contact with their peers that wasn't being filled consistently the last 6 years. Two would be there aren't a lot of people out engaged. There's a lot of people with that mindset of if you build it, they'll come. There aren't a lot of people out reaching out going, hey, we've got this party, would love to have you come, and understanding some fundamental things about human nature that I've observed. Like one of them is what I call the Southern grandma. I don't know if you came from a big family, but I have in Alabama. So you would go to your family reunions. There'd be 100 people there. You'd have your grandmother that would grab you when you'd walk in the door, and she would walk you up to somebody that you don't think you'd ever seen in your life and go, Michael, you remember your third cousin twice removed, Zach. He's your aunt so and so's in-law. They would help the two of you engage. And Zach, this is Michael. He's Katie Bell's son. You probably met him. He went to Auburn, and they'd get y'all engaged, get you engaged. I'm trying to teach you some Southern, y'all. They'd get y'all engaged, and then they would do what? Oh, I need to go over here and say something to your cousin Lulabelle. So I guess my surprises would be I haven't met a lot of people doing that, understanding, Sam Walton, when he started Walmart, he understood the incredible value of just having somebody standing in the door going, how y'all doing? Just greeting as you walked in. They've moved away from that because they've gotten so big. But how many of us remember our first experience at a Walmart having that retired person standing in there at the door helping you get a buggy, just saying hi? That little bit of human kindness, a little bit of helping you engage, a little bit of helping you feel part of something. So the first surprise would be that there really wasn't something like what I've done going on now. And others have come and gone that I've noticed, but they've always had a monetization piece to them, and I understand that, and that makes things different. not better or worse, just different. Understanding that there's a big difference between the mindset of build it and they will come and build it, go invite them, bring them to the party, and then work real hard to make them feel like they belong and they're part of it. The Southern Grandmama technique, the invitation technique, where you help people get engaged, used to make me insane. I would spend all this money. I had very successful salespeople. I'd send them to a chamber event. I'd show up at the chamber event. Who would they all be hanging out with? The people they already knew. And I'd be going, wait a minute, I didn't send you to this to talk to the people you sit next to at a desk every day. I sent you to this to meet these people you don't know and start a relationship. It's when you figure out there's very few percentage of the people in the world, quite frankly, that walk into a room of strangers and go, oh boy, I want to go talk to the people I don't know, and have learned techniques for engaging them.
How do you hope that this group grows, and what kind of value do you think will be in it in the future that may not be in it right now?
I think the way it's going to continue to grow is if I continue to do what I've done, which is spend about 30 minutes an hour every day looking around the world going, okay, who would bring or get value from this community? I'm going to reach out and invite them. I'm not going to invite them to engage with me. I'm irrelevant. I'm going to invite them and focus on them engaging with their peers because that's who they really want to talk to. Then I'm going to make sure I build honor and trust in those relationships that people find out you got to work to build trust, right? You got to work to, and that's why I always tell people that when it comes to things, people, I don't expect trust to be given. I expect trust to be earned. I expect respect to be earned. This thing about, I'm willing to pay the dues to earn their trust, to earn their respect, to make sure that they're getting and giving value from the community and keep focused. So I'm gonna keep doing that because I get personal fulfillment out of helping other people. Yeah, I get a payoff. My payoff is when I see two people, I'm like the Southern Granny. When I see two people that I connect and then I walk away and I see them light up and go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad to meet you. And you see them get energized and fired up because they've now started a new relationship that without me, they may not have started. That gives me a lot of personal fulfillment is if you help people help themselves.
Ben Cross is a lot like that. He's
Yeah. You
always
help
connecting
people.
people, you know.
Yeah, you help people help themselves, right? You understand that invitation technique. You understand there's a real desire for people to connect. They just necessarily don't know how, or they're so busy every day doing what they do, they don't have time to do that.
How do people come to these insights in the group? What's the value of the group?
During COVID, right? Here's one my aha that happened in COVID. One of the things that I knew before COVID was so many of the people that are in mobility were what I call they were remote before remote was cool. Because they're dealing with issues all over the world 24/7, a lot of them, because you'd have a company that has 20 HR people and they have one person that's their mobility go to. They had strategically said, okay, you work from home because you're doing phone calls at 11 at night, you're doing phone calls at because of different time zones around the world, right? So they were remote before, in a lot of cases, remote before remote was cool, or they were remote because when they go in the office, they really didn't have a natural peer group in the office because they were kind of doing, they were so specialized in that one thing that the rest of the HR people, it was just different, right? All of a sudden, COVID hits. Well, COVID hits and everybody goes home. Everybody's working remotely. And now all of a sudden, these people are sitting at home trying to figure out, okay, I've got all these people working remotely, and several other aha moments happen. And again, this is just Michael's point of view. I may be full of stuff. But Michael's point of view is what happens is a Steve Jobs or whoever comes out at a big company and says, we are a responsible company. All of our people can go work from home. Now, what he may mean is you're going to go work from your address and your payroll system that's tied to all your tax systems, immigration systems, everything else. What did the employees hear? I can work from anywhere, that I can plug in my computer and cell phone. because he didn't come out and say, we're a responsible company, everybody can work from home. And by home, we mean you've got to go to the address in the payroll system. Again, what you say as a leader, you always have to be thinking in terms of what I say, but then what people hear. So there's so many stories that came out of that then people go to work from home and decide during this, I really need to go be with my family, wherever my family is. I need to go. I think a lot of people did relocated without telling the company based on family needs or family situations. Some based on, I've always wanted to spend 2 months in Paris. And they have the internet in Paris and my phone works in Paris. So in the middle of COVID, during all of that, we heard all these stories, and I heard a lot of conversation in the community that people self-relocated to be with family, I think 75% of the time, but 25% of the time for some other reason, right? And they also figured, well, why am I paying for this apartment in this city when I'm never going to be in that apartment? I can go live in my bedroom back at home with mom and I save all that money, or whatever that dynamic was. What you say as a leader is not always what people hear. So the role of mobility took a big step forward during COVID, in my opinion. And I think it opened up a lot of eyes in a lot of the companies about, oh, wait a minute, right? There's a lot more to this than us just sending somebody a check and telling them good luck. A lot of eyes open to the value of having a great mobility program and great mobility people on your program that were, the old days we would say jack of all trades, master of none. Well, sometimes though you need a jack of all trades who can do 75% of a lot of different things. And sometimes at a company, what I need is somebody who can do, because that 75% covers 90% of my needs.
I'm curious. I have this sort of rapid fire fun questions. Are you ready to let your me monster out, Michael?
Oh, sure.
All right, so don't think too hard about these, but we're just gonna kind of ask you a bunch of questions so people can kind of get to know you a little bit more. Okay.
All right.
So what's your favorite movie?
Well, probably Notting Hill,
Favorite sport?
football,
Pro?
Auburn Tigers,
There you go. Favorite music?
David Bowie,
Bowie. Good. Favorite food?
barbecue.
Barbecue? Any particular type? I feel like you can't just say barbecue because you're gonna have people in Texas and people in Kansas City and people in Georgia upset at you if you only say one.
All right. Well, in the South, right, or
Mm-hmm.
I've grown up on pork barbecue,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whether it's whole hog or pork shoulder, pork butt, it's good old pork barbecue with a wet sweet sauce.
Board game.
Monopoly.
I guess you can do like poker and stuff like that too,
Yeah.
or exercise.
Walking, hiking.
Anywhere in particular?
Yeah. My wife and I have a place up in the mountains of North Carolina. So we go up around Boone, North Carolina and all that area and hike all the time and walk all the time.
Last one. This is for me because I love quotes. What's your favorite quote or a favorite quote?
Wow. A favorite quote, just one. I don't know. It's probably the one that, and this is probably going to kind of sound self-serving, but it's the one that I made up for myself that I think about all the time, which is, and I discussed earlier, achieving greatness is simple. It just isn't easy because it helps keep me grounded on thinking about how you achieve in life.
This one. This is for my personal. Are the Nebraska Cornhuskers going to win the national championship next year?
Not unless they get one of those $1 billion uh, donors to start writing those $10 million checks to compete with Texas and other people that are have the T Boons, Pickens, or whoever out there, right, or the Oregons having somebody willing to write a $5 million check to buy a player.
All right, come on, Warren Buffett.
Come on, work. That's it.
All right. Well, Michael, I really enjoyed our time, and it was great getting to know you. And we want to thank you for coming on Relocation Leader and sharing your insight. And do you have anything that you want to say? Direct people to your group.
If you're a corporate HR person and you're interested, you can drop me a note. I'm sure they'll put my contact information as part of that. Again, it's vendor free and no fee. And the main thing is anybody that can bring or get value from the community is welcome. Whether this is one of the interesting things is when I've had the origin conversation with people, right? How did you get in mobility? What brought you to mobility? This isn't one of those things you go to college and go, oh, I want to be a mobility person. It's been interesting that consistently what I hear is somebody's in HR or some other function in the company, and this position comes up and it sounds like fun, and I'll give that a try. Right? So whether you're that person who's wanting to step into it from your current HR role, or you've been doing it 20 years, if the community would bring or give value to you, drop me a note. Happy to invite you.
So yeah, join Michael's group. Fantastic time talking to you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
That was another episode of Relocation Leader. Thank you guys for joining, and make sure you save the date. If you are interested in joining our TAS webinar, there's a corporate-only event, and that's going to take place on August 21st. Also, make sure you follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube. So we will see you next time on Relocation Leader.